Some other ones, which is Bradford pear. Well, since it's a pear tree, we've had pear trees here forever. Fruitless pears, it may be right. I don't know. If you're in the landscaping, you probably know this. If you're not into that, let me just explain something. You got a native tree, say a wild pear tree, for example, and it's known by a lot of local names, and they'll end up putting a biological name on it so everybody will know we're talking about the same tree. But then you get all these biologists, and they start jacking with it, and they do all these cultivars that do different things, and that's what this whole book is about. You might pull up pear, and there may be 50 different pear trees that they've branched off. Basically, they're all pear trees. One of them has a prettier flower. One of them has a straighter grain. One of them has a bigger leaf. But they're still pear trees, and somebody at some point made a cultivar out of Bradford pear and took a pear tree and made it fruitless, so it didn't have fruit everywhere. And we grow them as landscape trees around, so that's kind of the way that system works. That's not an exact answer, and I don't have one, but that's kind of the way the system works. Cottonwood. How many of you ever tried to turn cottonwood? Raise your hand if you've ever tried to turn cottonwood. What did you think about it?
I didn't get to it fast enough. It was so punky.
Punky. It spalls really quick.
Yeah, and it's soft.
Yes. This piece here, John, how long had this been laying on the ground, that piece of cottonwood? It died first, right? And then it's been laying on the ground a year, this piece of cottonwood. And what you notice is, when you start looking, it's spalded very handily, and in places already got punky in that length of time. What you'll notice when I pass this bowl around, don't look like much when you turn it. Wait till you sand it and put a finish on it. Very beautiful wood. It's cheap. It's everywhere. Get you a piece and play with cottonwood trees on the thing. I got it. Well, I ain't got it. I'm gonna make you a deal here. I have this big piece of cherry crotch. I'll give to the first person to tell me the difference between yellow poplar and cottonwood. Not a color. What's the difference in the woods between a yellow poplar and a cottonwood? Who? What? There is a difference, a big difference. Another question. Anybody else? Yellow poplar grows up and down the Mississippi Delta, and it's kin to a tulip tree and has yellow wood. I guess that's where they get the name yellow poplar. But it's sort of like cottonwood. But here, I've heard a lot of people confuse it with cottonwood. This is cottonwood on the bottom, and here's yellow poplar, second one up. Y'all look at the grain texture difference and the color. They're really two different woods. Yellow poplar, if you got somebody that's making you a cheap set of cabinets that's going to be painted where you're not going to have to look at the grain, but it's going to be painted over. I've got a buddy that's a woodworker, and I ain't going to mention his name, but in Highland Park, he makes yellow poplar cabinets that's going to be painted. But it really finishes fine grain and finishes well. Y'all can use that for bowls. The problem is the only way we can get yellow poplar here is either go to the Mississippi Delta and cut one down and bring it in, or buy it as lumber. This was come out of two. There's actually two pieces of lumber glued together on that one because I don't have a chunk. But it gives you an idea of the difference between cottonwood. Tulip poplar is yellow poplar. Let's see. Let me think about that a minute. Tulip poplar, there is the catappa. A lot of time is nicknamed poplar. The catappa tree. That's one of the nicknames for it. So it's not the same tree, far as I know. That's not a very definite answer, but that's all I got on the thing. So anyway, try cottonwood. You said you're the only one who's turned. Anybody else who has never turned a piece of cottonwood? That hasn't won anything tonight? This guy here. You hadn't done it? All right, I'm going to give that to him. And I'm going to give this to you for... Come get that. Now, y'all get together in a horse trade. One of the problems I've had with cherry, I'll mention this. I had brought back these logs, and of course we know wood tends to crack around the pith, so I sliced them in half and anchor sealed both ends of them and put them in my storage place. And when I went and started digging through them there, at least half of them had started cracking really bad. So cherry doesn't do well when it dries. You get to it early, get it finished, and don't leave it a long time because it's prone to cracking, I think. Where were we at on our slides? Yellow poplar next, bald cypress. We talked, bald cypress is your pond, swamp cypress. Great rot-proof wood for outdoor furniture if you're going to turn something to put outside. What woods would you use? Board oak, bald cypress. Two of the most rot-resistant woods there is. So great choices for your turning objects. It splinters. It's like straw. It's like a bunch of straws stuck together. So yes, it's a little coarse. You remember all of these woods. Did you turn more than one piece of it? Yeah, do this. If y'all have a problem with a piece of wood, you tried it, don't quit at the first piece of wood. Maybe it's a learning curve that you just have to learn to turn those kind of pieces of wood out of that, and keep trying. I think you'll be amazed at some of the results you got on a thing. Next. Magnolia. There's a lot of magnolias been planted in Dallas. There used to be a 1,000-acre magnolia nursery in Athens, Texas. They used to bring them into Dallas in here in the 50s and 60s by the load. So we got a lot of magnolias, and occasionally they took them down. This is magnolia that's been spalted. Beautiful. It's a beautiful wood even if it hadn't been spalted. But there's your great wood. Pass this around, y'all. Look at those differences in those woods. What's next? Yellow poplar. We're getting down to the last ones. I'm gonna pass this around too. There's other woods out there, and somebody asked me about chinaberry. Official name is western soapberry. We call them chinaberry here locally on the thing. Settlers used to take the berries and make soaps. Where it got the name is they'd crush it down, and it kind of made a soap substance when they didn't have any other soap, or they didn't have lye soap, made from hides, and use it. But it's kind of a coarse wood, but it has a real distinctive grain in it, so it's worth messing with. Redbud trees. A lot of redbud trees been planted in the nursery. They're not native, but we got them here because they're a nursery tree, and they create some nice, interesting grain. Willows. How many people been down at the creek and cut a willow tree down? If we have a willow, supposedly in Texas, it's really called a black willow. We call them willows. But try a willow tree. It's a little coarse wood, but it has distinctive grain. It's like there is a corkscrew willow in Texas. If you get, I'm trying not to get too deep into cultivars. One, because it's hard to memorize one of these books, but if you look in any of them, there's going to be a lot of different cultivars on willows, but the main one is black willow for Texas. There is a corkscrew willow. A lot of times you'll find it in nursery trade because people like the way those branches bend around. So you can still get a hold some of that. I don't know that there's a difference between a black willow and a corkscrew willow if the wood looks different or not. I can't answer that question for you. Back up one slide. A couple of other ones. Yopon holly. Native to just south of Dallas. It's beautiful white wood. It's sort of like holly in a way, what it looks like. So if you get a chance, there's a lot of Yopon holly being. When I was in the nursery business, I don't know how many times I went down there and brought Yopon hollies up here to be planted in landscapes. So there's a lot of them around, and by now they're getting fairly large in some of these landscapes. And try some of those. Sumac. We mostly know sumac as poison ivy. There is a tree in Texas called it's just shining sumac, and you know it because it makes short trees 15 maybe 20 feet tall, but it spreads by underground roots, and a tree will come up and it'll go on out another one, and you'll find them in groves. The wood is very knotty, burled. It almost looks like you've been breaking it or beating on it or something, the way it grows around all the knots and stuff. So there was some on my brother's ranch out Ranger, so I thought, I'm going to cut me a piece of that and just turn something out of it. I was going to experiment. So I put it on my lathe, and I started turning it. And, of course, wood shavings are going anywhere, and I got a helmet on but nothing on my head. So wood shavings are landing all over my head. The next day, I had the equivalent of poison ivy all over my head. So that's the last time I've messed with shoemaking. Y'all play with it if you want to, but I ain't going to turn no more of it. So you learn as you go here. Keep experimenting. Some of the experiments don't work out so well on things. So next, spalting. We have a lot of woods that look more beautiful spalted than they do in their natural element. I made up this little deal. I'm going to pass this around. It's just a bunch of squares of wood of some of these woods we've talked about, but here's what happens when you spalt them. Look at the difference. What struck me when I put this together is how spalting the same fungus, these were all spalted by the same fungus in the same pile, makes different woods look different. You get different characteristics out of it. So y'all study that a little bit. See if you can learn something from the different. My favorite still is pecan. Spalt's easiest of all of them, and looks the most beautiful.
And does the spalting stop when you put the sealer on it?
Spalting stop. Spalting is a fungus. Right. And I'm sorry, it is fungus, but it can't live without water and air. And so what you want to do, if I take something like this piece of pecan has been in the spalt, a pile of sawdust so that it could be moist and lack of sunlight so that the fungus could grow. Now I want to stop that from happening. Different ways of doing that. The first of it is get it up and let it dry. Fungus cannot keep growing unless it's moist. So get it up and dry it out. Lay it out in the sun. Man, fungus does not like sunshine. So it'll eventually dry it out, and that will slow it down. I'm trying to think of what there was. There's something, you can put bleach on it, but bleach is going to color your wood. That'll stop the fungus on the thing. Best thing is just let it dry and turn it quickly. Then you put your sealers on there, and it's going to stop. An interesting thing I discovered, this is wax on this. Some of those pieces I passed out had just anchor seal on them. And I put wax on some pieces of pecan, and nothing really happened other than seal the wood. But I put an anchor seal on a piece of pecan, and it spalted like crazy. Apparently, fungus loves anchor seal. Because I had these big bowls of beech that I got, and they were fresh wood. And I mean, they weren't exposed to any fungus other than, you got fungus everywhere. It's in the air and everywhere else in my shop. So I coated them with anchor seal. Then I put them away to dry a little bit. You pick them up, and they're just covered with fungus. Apparently, that fungus eats anchor seal, as near as I can figure out. That was one of them kind of experiments on the thing. All right.
Do you have any particular technique to spalt your wood?
Say that again.
Do you have any particular method of spalting?
The wood that I spal, and I spal quite a bit of it, and I started off one of the other woodturners in the club, told me things, then I got on the internet and done a research. I'll tell you what don't work. On the internet it says if you want to spal wood, you take brown sugar, and you pour some beer in it, and you make a slurry, and you paint the end of this, and you go out there and ball it, and it'll spal. Apparently fungus don't care if you've got brown sugar and beer on your wood or not. But to answer your question, what my spalting farm, my wife accused me always of trying to regrow the wood because I have this pile of thing out there, and when my shop dust collector, when I empty it, I dump it on the spalting pile or the wood pile that's out there that's being spalted. There's two sprinkler heads that cross, and and every time the sprinkler comes on, it keeps it moist. It's under a big oak tree, so it's shaded on the thing, and it's covered with sawdust, and it spals very quickly. The thing you'll run into is pecan wood will spoil, hackberry will spoil in 30 days. Pecan will spoil in 6 months. I put some sycamore down there, and 3 years later, I still ain't got any spalting in it. So again, we're back to know your woods. Each one of them spearmint, and it's going to depend how much moisture and how much fungus and how much protection you got, how fast it does it. But back to the question you asked, but hey, you stop it. I give away a lot of wood real quick when it gets to that point, because if you don't do something with it, it's going to go ahead and get punky. And of course, some of these guys that do pin and small stuff, they're sticking this in, what do you call that, where you stick it in and inject it in resin. Great for spalted wood. It can't rot. Takes out all the soft spots. You can turn great things out of spalted wood that otherwise you'd have to throw away if it's smaller enough to put in one of those containers. Okay? Spalting, anyway. Different things. There's a list of things. Here's references if y'all want to go look any of this stuff up. Any questions?